Hey everyone, it's Jonathan, and welcome to the JonCast. If you love talking about movies, you've come to the right podcast. My name is Jonathan North, and I love movies and talking about movies with my friends. This is my main channel here on YouTube. I launched in 2017, and I found a few niches talking about things like every version of Alice in Wonderland on my show Wonderland Wednesday, or going through the classic Disney film canon from beginning to end in the Disney Movie Marathon, or just talking about all different kinds of animation on iHeart Animation. In 2019, I pivoted mostly to podcasting, and the shows I started as shorter YouTube reviews would go on to become staples of the podcast, and I'd have friends from all over join me to talk about everything from forgotten silent versions of Alice in Wonderland and A Christmas Carol, to classic films like Meet Me in St. Louis or Disney's Fantasia, to brand new films like Marcel the Shell with Shoes On or Hundreds of Beavers. Eventually, what was Wonderland Wednesday became a whole new podcast covering all kinds of literary adaptations called Every Version Ever. Then the Disney Movie Marathon spun off as well, and while some of all of those episodes can be found here, they now have their own dedicated YouTube channels and podcast feeds. Then YouTube launched their own podcast features, and I took the opportunity to create several YouTube exclusive podcasts right here on this channel. Despite spinning off Every Version Ever, I'm still doing Wonderland Wednesday to this day, and it has a big enough audience that it just made sense to give it its own dedicated podcast. iHeart Animation also became its own podcast, and then since the very beginning of this channel, I've been reviewing Christmas movies and specials every December and July, so you'll also find the Christmas Movie Marathon podcast here as well. And while all of these podcasts were also one big random podcast that I had originally called the iHeart Podcast, later changed to iHeart Movies, we are now relaunching and reworking the channel into the JonCast. Here you'll find all the same kinds of movies and shows we've always covered. We're working on podcast series on versions of The Wind in the Willows, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, Cinderella, and more. We've got mini-series in the works covering the next films and franchises in the Disney canon, Sleeping Beauty, 101 Dalmatians, and The Sword and the Stone, and plenty of one-off episodes as well, covering everything from 1966's Batman the Movie starring Adam West, to the 1998 film Ever After starring Drew Barrymore, to the 2008 Star Wars The Clone Wars animated film. The JonCast is the place for people who love movies to get together and talk about their favorite films, or even sometimes their not-so-favorite films, because as I've learned from all these years of podcasting, sometimes the best conversations can come out of watching the worst movies. Check out our episodes on movies like Santa Jaws, or Santa Claus and the Ice Cream Bunny, or Santa Claus vs. the Devil, to see what I mean. Apparently we talk about a lot of hilariously bad Christmas movies here. But no matter what we're talking about, you're going to have a fun time with me and my friends, so join us every week for a new conversation about an old favorite, or to just discover something new to watch, right here on the JonCast.